Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. This is episode 002, Fightcast. Is he human? Dudamus. Dudamus, how are you, man? How are you feeling?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I can't complain, man. I can't complain a whole lot. We gotta. I'm thinking about this evening's episode. And
Hmm.
wow, we have got a lot to cover this evening, man. And I'm really excited to, go ahead and share this one. So today's episode, folks, is Fight for Finance. Oh
Hell yeah.
yeah. And I also, with that being said, because, I think with finance, we have to go ahead and hit them with those full disclosure. Everything we say should be considered entertainment and educational. None of this is financial advice. Okay. Just want to go ahead and get the full disclosures out. Please like and subscribe on the YouTube. Give us a follow on X.
Yeah. Do
Without
your own
further ado,
research.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Do your own research. That's what this is all about anyway. Eat everything from the food up to this point. Do your own research. That's what that's all about. Again, goes back into empowering others to see other perspectives. So that's what Fightcast is all about, y'all. That is what it's all about.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. And Dudamus, I've got a few things, man. I want to cover. I've got a few hard topics here that I'm looking at, and I definitely want to pick your brain and hear what your thoughts are on these things. What have you seen or watched? What can you share with us? But when we're talking about finance, man, I mean, get us acclimated with the fiat money system.
Yeah. We've had some good conversations before we got into this tonight. And the fiat money system that we know goes back to about 1971, right? Or 1970. There was I believe it was 1971 that Richard Nixon actually disconnected the convertibility of the dollar to gold from other countries. I think France was trying to convert a lot of dollars into gold, and so in order to keep all of our gold from going overseas, Richard Nixon destroyed that convertibility finally. But it goes back before that, really, and I think you and I saw some stuff recently on the Federal Reserve, right, and how that got started even back
Mm-hmm.
in like 1913.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and really, the difficulty that we live in now, and coming out of, we're in, I think, the tail end of this fiat money system, and so many people now, you know, peers of yours, peers of mine, even. Um, I think a lot of people that are older than me understood money better than we understand money now. My parents um, were around when they took the silver out of the coins in the 1960s.
Yeah.
But I would venture to guess that a lot of people my age, a lot of people your age and younger, don't don't really understand what's happened to the money, and how it just keeps going down in value over time, right? Other than the fact that, Big Macs get more expensive.
Oh gosh, the Big Mac. So what's the Big Mac? It's not the theory. It's the line. It's the
Yeah,
wave.
the index.
The index. Yeah, the Big Mac index. To better break this down for our audience and make this as simple as possible, let's break down the Big Mac index.
Yeah. Basically, you can Google it, and it just tracks the price of Big Macs over time. So, um, we have the CPI, and we have Truflation. There's all these different measurements by which the government tries to tell us. Um, it generally lies to us about how how quickly or slowly our money is losing its value. But the Big Mac index is really just a chart that tracks the average price of Big Macs, and you can just tell. You go back and you look at what Big Macs were. They were, dollars less just a few years ago. But you go back to the 1990s, and an average price of a Big Mac was in the $2 range versus where it is now. So
And when I think about this index and I think about inflation, I think about a couple different things because inflation does not have a positive connotation over on my side over here.
mm,
But our government believes that the inflation is good for the economy and circulating capital throughout the economy. How much is too much? Where's the balance? Or should there be inflation at all?
yeah, I mean that's a great question because that's what we hear, right, all the time. The government says we should have a little inflation, that it's not a bad thing. But um, if you're a Bitcoiner, you'd say there shouldn't be any inflation, right? Um, it
Yeah,
doesn't it
yeah,
doesn't really make sense. But I think the idea is that if you have more, the idea comes from, I think, if you have more people, you've got a birth rate, the population's growing, and so along with the population growing, we need to have a money supply that grows. A lot of this, I think, is just mental gymnastics that these financial people give to us in order to be able to try to convince us that inflation's a good thing, because it's not. It's a hidden tax, right? They're basically, by it would be like, like you're selling eggs in a farmer's market, right? And I set up shop right next to you, and I'm selling twice as many eggs, right? And it makes your eggs worth less, even if it's just perceived, right? The eggs are still the same eggs, but it's a supply problem. And when the government can print as much money as it wants, that's what happens, right? It just becomes worth less.
right. And I think about even too, just to go along with your eggs, and I think about just the government being able to just print off money, and then you're also able to, I don't want to say the word dictate, but really come to a consensus of the pricing of things, man, the value of things. Like if I had a grapefruit and you had a tomato,
Mhm.
and and this grapefruit, let's just say I grew this bad boy, but it's like I know that realistically speaking, here's X, Y, and Z of it. So here we are. Because if I really wanted to do this, it would be just maybe the price of the seed, but value, correct? But
Yeah,
just with that, man, just with knowing. And I want to take this back too, because I've got a couple thoughts that are running through my head at the moment. But because there's a lot of things that are gonna, I hope, tie into all of this. But value, that is the key word that keeps sticking out of my head, is value. And who's putting value on what? Now, I want to bookmark that for a second, because we've got a few different things working right now. We've got the tomatoes, we got the grapefruit, we've got value, we've got all different things. But to stay along the lines of inflation and the value or the non-value of that.
yeah. I
Who?
mean,
Go ahead, because I've got a few things I want to circle around. But yeah, I feel like you're picking up what I'm putting down here.
I just wanted to step in and say that there's also labor is a part of this too. But no, I want you to continue with your train of thought. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. Please do. No, I want to go ahead and because that heck, that's gonna help. I'm sure bring this back around here.
Yeah. So you have basically value your labor and energy is the way that I tend to think about when and some of this comes from listening to Michael Saylor maybe, but it's like each one of us, if you were to take everything down to the very root level of it all, like each one of us has the energy to wake up in the morning, to eat our breakfast, to go to work, to do a full day, a full day's work, and get paid for that. And that pay, that day's worth of energy that we put into it has value, right? The work that we put in has value to somebody. We sell that work to somebody for a paycheck. And when we're given what we're given in the United States, of course, is US dollars, right? But I don't know if that
Mhm.
helps to bring it back around to that. But that's how I tend to think about it is we get up, we do our work, we create value every day with what we do,
Yes.
and then we get paid that. And most people they get paid in dollars, they keep it in a bank account. Maybe it gets some interest, maybe in most cases it doesn't get much. And and it just loses value over time, right? But they don't realize it. Most people don't really realize what's going on.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah. That so it does bring that back around because you said it while you were speaking. When you look at the grassroots of this, you're looking at the labor and you're looking at the energy behind these things, and it's like we a lot of times don't see the fruits of the labor. To really sum it up, we don't get to see the fruits of the labor and the way that it comes down, and it could look like there are more investments here and more investments there and less here and less there, and longer spans of assessments, or whatever it may be. And I could be wrong in some instances. I know that not all companies are like that, but from what I've experienced personally, and from what I've seen on my own research, we've definitely got our stakes in some really unique pools that leave me questioning, how much do we really value the people, our grassroots, in comparison to our what's the American term, competition. I feel like there's a lot of conversation at the opposition's table than there is sitting at a table of camaraderie
Yeah.
or wanting to build camaraderie. That might be too deep for him, Dunamis.
It might be a little too deep for me. I might have gotten lost a little bit in that trend.
This might be too deep for everybody this evening. I have gotten comfortable, y'all. I have
That's
gotten
great.
comfortable. I'm in my zone. This is the philosophy. This is the philosophy of it. This is where the audience is going to experience the yin and the yang of this. But
Yeah.
everything parallels back together, y'all. I have to say that. And speaking of parallel, let's parallel right back to that like and subscribe button. Please, y'all. We've got more content coming. For those of you who are just tuning in, this is the fight about finance. Again, this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not financial advice. I'm Izzy Human, and this is Dunamis. I was just, in this rabbit hole, for those of you who are jumping in, of value of people. And I look at the world and I look at how the world in areas value their people and their time and their efforts. into making sure that our economy, Jenna, economy is circulating properly.
And it's got to
And
work for everybody.
it does have to work for everybody, and it's never going to be fair for everybody, you know. So what is fairness? And I mean, really, what is fairness? I mean, like, by definition, what is fairness, and how do you equate that into now humanity?
That's that's the biggest question of all, right there, because I mean, so many people. We even talk about with the Cardano Constitution, the all of the angst that we had over the word equity, right? And so, what is fair? Um, that is going to cut right down the center of every political divide you could possibly imagine. But for my sake, I would say that fair would be an even playing field where bring it right back around to money, where the money isn't manipulated. There's there was there's a system in place, a natural system which limits the amount of gold and silver that there is in the world, right? And so we should have social systems and institutions that work within the confines of nature, right, and help our communities and people work together and grow and become prosperous. And none of that happens by printing money.
Yeah, and the it's the language. It's the break in the language. You know, the medium of exchange or money. You know, I feel like we need to have better conversations about the value of currency overall. And, you know, looking into things like the durability of it, the portability, the divisibility, the fungibility, store value, unit of account, like those aren't conversations that a lot of people are having, but there are people that are having those conversations. And to piggyback off of what you mentioned earlier about evening the playing field, when you get more people involved in what the value of anything is, then they're more likely to, uh, you know, be invested,
Yeah,
invest in their investment instead of it just being a $5 bill that can buy you a $2 pop and you get some change back. Like, what does this $5 really mean? And I also want to get back over to, or obviously continue the conversation, but I want to talk more about some of the terms, because again, these are things that I want people to do their research on. But let's talk about durability. Let's talk about those things. We can
yeah,
start from the top.
yeah. So those different characteristics that make good money, durability being one of them. So if you think about even just paper money, right? So paper money, you keep it in your pocket. The jeans go through the wash. um, those dollar bills don't come out looking quite as crisp and new as when they went in. So durability is just what is money's ability to last over time, not only physically, um, but also potentially as a store of value, right? But
Hmm.
because a dollar can sit as a number in your bank account probably forever, right? So that's good durability there in that sense. The main things here, so these different characteristics: durability, portability, divisibility. The United States dollars are pretty divisible. You can divide them down into cents. Bitcoin is divisible, and many people don't know this. A lot of people don't. They think, oh gosh, Bitcoin hit 100,000. I'll never be able to buy one. But they don't realize that Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million satoshis. And so you can buy a very, very small fraction of a Bitcoin that's less than a penny. and buy any amount of Bitcoin. So it's very, very divisible. ADA, which is the native token of Cardano, which is a blockchain that we'll talk quite a bit about as well. That is also divisible. I believe there's 6 digits after the decimal point in ADA, and those are Lovelaces. Gold isn't as divisible. You know what I'm saying? If you were going to go buy a pack of cigarettes or a piece of chewing gum with gold, you'd have to have a very small piece of gold to do that. So silver tends to be more divisible. And then if we were just to get into what I think are probably the most important characteristics are the store of value in the unit of account. And that's where fiat currency breaks down. Because even 2% inflation, I mean, they say they strive for 2% inflation. We just got the numbers out recently, and inflation is ticking back up again. As of the recording today, we're going back up towards 3%. Their goal is 2%. And they normally raise rates when they're trying to get inflation to come down to 2%, but they're already cutting rates again. They're cutting rates, and inflation is already starting to tick back up. We didn't get to 2%, but at 2%, you know, your money, you lose 21% of everything you save in just a decade, in 10 years. So if you're trying to save up money for a down payment on a house, to start a business, to do anything really big, you want to do something and it's going to cost you $200,000 to do it. It's going to take you, most of us, at least myself, it's going to take a while to save that amount of money up, and
Right.
and while you're doing it, you don't want it to be basically trending towards a zero value. So that's what we have with fiat currency.
Yeah, and it had me thinking too when while we were talking about this too, because I know we were talking about the fiat money system here a little earlier. Man, it's taking me back to like how was it having gold and silver back then, man?
Yeah, I mean, I it's hard for me to imagine. I know my girlfriend would joke around. What was it like? But I'm not that old. But
Back in my day.
back in my day. But it was 1964 was when they took the last of the silver out of that was the last time we had silver in the coinage, at least at a 90% rate. It used to be that quarters, dimes, and half dollars were 90% silver, and silver dollars. So a silver dollar goes way back to the Spanish silver dollar, and it's basically it's a little less than a troy ounce of silver. Basically, it's a little less than an ounce of silver. Today, a silver dollar you can pick up online for about $30. It's roughly the price of an ounce of silver. And that right there should just go to show what has happened to the dollar. So a dollar from before the 1960s, you can buy today on eBay for $30. So the silver dollar has done a 30x, in dollar terms.
Y'all, I want everybody, when they get an opportunity, to rewind this as far as you can take it and then start from the beginning and then get to this point, because Dunamis just dropped a lot of gems. When you're talking about gold and you're talking about silver and you're talking about the value, you keep hearing the word value. There's a reason. You think about the value of a dollar, and you think about how we were talking earlier of there is just not much of a limit to how much is being printed out. So you're killing the value of this thing, but inflation is supposed to be good for the economy, right?
That's what they want us to believe still. And we've got what, 30, 35, I think we just hit 36 trillion something in debt. It's just, it's insane. It goes, it goes, it goes, it goes. And um, yeah, it is not sustainable. That's something we're going to hear more and more about. And I think it's going to create more of a crisis. This is something that if you thought it was important to know in the past, you're right. If you think it's important to know now, or it's not important to know now because gold and silver have gone up in value, you're wrong. It's it's just as important to know now and tomorrow as it was yesterday. And this is something that we all need to. There's one rule that I gave my daughter, by the way. My daughter has just got her first job recently, and I won't say too much about it except to say that her one rule was that I want her to buy a little bit of silver out of every paycheck. If you can just go to, and I would give this advice to everyone, anyone, that if you're wanting to do what you can to combat the the way that your value, your life energy gets stolen by just saving it in the bank as money, take a little bit out of that paycheck. You know, a $30 is all it takes to buy an ounce of silver, basically. And once a month, you know, pick up a silver coin and put it in a shoebox, put it in your closet, and forget that you have it. And you just keep doing that. And that is a much better way, in my opinion, not financial advice, of course, but that is a great way for me to save money. It's been a great way for me to save money, and partly because I like to spend money more than I like to save money. And so once I spend it on a silver coin and I put it away, it's pretty much saved for good, right? So,
Right. And introducing multiple facets on how to invest your money and how to look at other avenues besides just the dollar bill or the $100 bill, looking at gold and looking at silver, understanding how all of these markets work. So that way you can get the most out of your investments. That's the biggest thing. Again, I've said this 1,000 times, but again, this is to empower you. This is this is not financial advice.
oh yeah, and you know, and it doesn't have to be gold and silver. I mean, we can sort of also at this point probably move on and talk a little bit about even just like the Robinhood, getting
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
Robinhood app and buying some stocks. You know, it could be the S&P 500, it could be Nasdaq, it could be whatever that is. But that's what people are doing to keep their money from eroding with inflation. Now, one thing again we'll say with stocks in particular, as with all of these things, there's risks involved, right? So you can just as easily put money into stocks and see them go down in value. That's a great likelihood actually here in this next year, but over time, generally, stocks, Bitcoin, gold, silver, these things go up in value versus the dollar because the dollar is designed to inflate, right? To lose value over time.
Man. And there's so many different stock apps that many of you can download, and some of you may already have them downloaded. Do your research on things that are up and coming on the rise, things that are looking low, that would be a good buy for the time being. I can tell you right now, Cardano would be a really good one to invest in. Or ADA would be a good one to invest in. I'm not just saying that, haha.
Did they
But
get that back on Robinhood yet? I know that was they had it on Robinhood, and then I think they had taken it off for a little while.
I know that they had Cardano on there.
Hmm.
I didn't specifically see ADA on there, but
Yeah, those are definitely a good approach. I also use now I happen to use Interactive Brokers myself, not a not a sponsor or anything like that, but definitely stocks are an approach to take as well. One of the other things that I would just mention is that Bitcoin. I mean, really what we're going to end up spending a lot of time, I think, talking about is what Bitcoin and Cardano, what the Cardano network, ADA, and how these things can be used together, not even just in a buy and hold strategy, but you know, there are certain strategies that should be taken into account. One thing to bear in mind is we shouldn't just want people that are listening to go off and put all of their life savings into some Robinhood stock or something like that.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah, it's not a good idea, and there's just as many reasons not to overinvest, because anytime you're over allocated and you invest money that you can't afford to lose, or money that you need to pay rent the next month, or whatever it is, these are all things that are not a good idea. These are bad ideas. But if you have additional extra money that you can save, one of the things I think we want to talk about is just that you don't necessarily want to save it in dollars, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Bitcoin, it could be ADA. I mean, not to get too personal, Izzy, but like, what might your portfolio sort of have in it?
So my portfolio, oh man. So this would be a good opportunity for me to shout out the So Liddy Records. Shout out to the team over there. There's a lot of we're part of that team. Shout out to all of us. There's a lot of people that are very well seasoned into this. So to answer your question, for me, I like to I like to look into stake pools. I know that that's kind of an over the head type of thing for some people, but we can dive into that a little bit more at a later time. But I like to be able to um, yield yield some of my investments, so that way, with the market as it fluctuates, I want to be able to keep the value of some of those things alive, because there is some good value in a lot of those things, so you want to hold on to those things. I think that the more diverse you are, but not having hundreds and hundreds of things in there, but at least spreading giving yourself good lines to go off of. And you don't want to obsess about it either. If I could give anybody any kind of tip, as you will. You don't want to obsess over these things, but you definitely need to have a sense of confidence in the things that you're looking into. And especially if you're looking into getting involved into stocks that are more than just the 70 or 98 cents. I mean, a couple bucks here and there, but I mean, if you're really looking into putting in, a few $100s into something that's $10, then I mean, hey, just as long as you're doing your due diligence, then I say you're not going to know unless you try it. Um, I in this journey, Dunamis, if there's a lot of I do have a lot of investments, but I also feel like a few of those investments are within our own atmosphere, which is
Yeah,
really dope to say, because we have a lot of facets that we're building, and things that are established that we're currently working with, and I've seen success in the projects that we're working on, and the fact that people are investing in us, which is really really cool. So I've seen through consistency how that can pay off for sure. So uh, for you guys, any of our listeners out there, that's a big gem right there. Invest in yourself, and ultimately, that's what you're doing as we're mentioning these things, when you're looking into the Robin Hoods and the other platforms of investments and whatnot. This is about investing into yourself. Don't look at this as giving your money away and thinking, oh, I may not get it back, but you don't just want to throw your money into anything either. It's like gambling. You don't want to just impulsively gamble if you don't have the mindset to win, and you just want to blow $5 or $10 off of something, and you think it might happen. Yes, it's a 50-50 split, but if you really manage those things, then you can really predict. Investments are not only just, don't look at them as just investments. Don't look at this as you're just going to put a bunch of money into something or put a little bit of money into something and you may or may not see a return on that. This is an investment in yourself. And when you're looking at all this, because you've done the research, you've taken the time, you're you've invested the time, you've invested, your efforts into making a good decision. So I want to get off the philosophy side of that and, get back on to some more of the little aspects of that, dunamis.
Yeah. With the investing in particular, you mentioned the what you were saying earlier about the stake pools. It had me think about what initially attracted me to Cardano. It reminded me in the crypto world so much of like what a dividend stock is like in the traditional stock world. So you have an asset, and just by holding that asset in your wallet and by staking to a stake pool, which is helping to secure the network, you're paid out a yield in ADA over time. And so that, in addition to the price action that you should get, of course, from investing in cryptocurrency, is a really neat way to proof of stake was always just a very interesting monetary dynamic for me to learn about, and how Cardano works and how it pays out stake to delegators to stake pools. I always thought that was really cool. And where you mention that we're investing in ourselves and in our projects, I think that's super important too, because, you know, gold has value because of its scarcity, because of how difficult it is to go and dig more of it up out of the ground. And Bitcoin, likewise, is scarce and difficult to obtain because you have to, have a bunch of Bitcoin miners to be able to produce just even a little bit of Bitcoin. And so, with these projects that we're involved in, a lot of these meme coins even have fixed supplies. And the of course, not financial advice, guys. Meme coins are definitely on the far end of the risk spectrum. But when you're involved in a project yourself, when you mentioned the people that we're involved with Solidity Records and others that we've met and developed a personal relationship with, it's a little bit of a different type of a situation than somebody just going and finding a coin online and getting behind it. But I do think that these meme coins and these other assets that we talk about way out on the far end of the risk curve have their place too. And these kind of communities that get built around these meme coins, that's a whole nother form of money. And it's another thing that I think we're going to examine and dig into, being that Fight is a meme coin, although we'd like to make it into something more than that. It's all of these are different forms of money, and they all carry some amount of those different characteristics that we were talking about. The fact that they're durable and portable and divisible and fungible. All of these things we could say about Fightcoin ADA as well. But it is important to do your own research, and it is important to understand what it is that you invest your time, your effort, your focus, your attention on. And it's not just money. Money really is the energy that comes from, it's all that, it all comes from that energy that we get up with every day, and we go out and we produce things. That's the beginning of all of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I feel like just, uh, man, all of this it's got me it's got me wound up in all the good ways, of just looking at all of this in its entirety. But just overall, guys, you know, there there's a lot of layers to the onion, to peel back here with this. I think what's really got me the most excited, because I definitely feel like we can definitely, jump into this one too. But look at all of the ways that we're talking about how to properly circulate the economy. Like, oh my gosh, like let's circle back on that for a second. We were talking about some of these ways that we're wanting to push, and we're wanting to keep things, moving in this motion, and the ways that we've put ourselves in motion. I mean, does it really make sense to put yourself in motion through debt? That's never made sense to me. And I don't think that like we can we you can give me a logical explanation, and I can understand your logical explanation, and I can also respectfully disagree.
It's tough.
And
Debt
yeah,
is one of those. It's one of those things that like I'm not going to tell you that I can't give you advice one way or the other, because there's good and bad, right, when it comes to debt.
right,
And there's people that will tell you, there's a lot of guys, financial experts, so-called experts out there that'll tout using debt and leverage in a way to make yourselves wealthy. And there's a lot. I don't want to say there's like I can't I can't be the guy to tell you there's anything wrong with that. But I also
right.
but there's a there's a different kind of freedom to not having debt. I think that's probably more important than the numbers, the ones and zero. Like if we could tell you logically, like, all right, if you get this interest rate and you've got debt and you've got that interest rate, then yeah, you end up ahead and this and that. But I tend to think that if you can try every day to accumulate a little bit more of those hard assets. If you're waking up every day and saying, "Hey, I can buy a little ADA, or I can buy a silver coin, or I can add a little bit to what it is that I'm stacking up." Maybe it's even. I mean, we were talking about food the last week, and it could even be cans of beans for all we know. Those will last a while, but you're expending your energy and you're trying to stack up something that lasts. That's the real trick, right? You're not, the more that we just save in dollars, not understanding the entire game is designed to take people who save their money in dollars and steal from them behind the scenes by creating inflation. When we all start to understand that, I think it's going to open up one of two things. I mean, it's the way the game is played. That's the thing, right? They say don't hate the player, hate the game. But those are the rules of the game right now. And so it would be better to say that we live in a world where we don't have to know financial things, where we don't have to think about and worry about buying silver and hiding it under our bed, or having to buy Bitcoin or crypto to outpace inflation. But that is the way the world is right now, and unfortunately, if we don't do those things, we're more likely just going to fall behind further.
Yeah. And instead of just using all of these things together, because it has to be a balance. There has to be a balance of these things, because too much of anything, it can be a bad thing. But being able to utilize all of these resources to be able to put something in place to say, yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, this makes sense. Just give the people options. Let's talk Bitcoin in real estate. Let's talk crypto in real estate. Let's talk about a lot of things and other options. There's so many ways that we can go about doing this, and it benefits everybody. And obviously the individual has to see the value in that first, right? And then from there it goes on, and then it goes on, and it's like telephone communities and worldwide, to sum it all up. But yeah, you've got to, in order to do those things, you got to be able to see those things, or at least hear those things, or know about those things. So that's why we're here, y'all. That's why we're here. And if you like what you've been hearing, hey, I hate to hit you with it again, but I'm gonna hit you with it again, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, please hit that like and subscribe. It means the world to us to have people tuning in to everything that we're going over. And at the end of the day, this is about servicing the people. That's what this is all about: servicing the people and being able to shed light on information that gets overlooked. Or if these were the questions that you had within yourself within the last 24 hours, well, here you are. Here's your sign. Is a human, ladies and gentlemen. Dunamis. This is the Fight Cast, and this is Fight for Finance.
Yeah. And the strategies will come. Like, I know that if you're just tuning in and you're like, all right, I got this, I understand. I've been in Cardano, I've been in Bitcoin for a while. This is super, super entry level stuff you guys are talking about. Well, it is. We have to illuminate the problem first. And then, like you said, it's not just about putting all your money into gold or putting all your money into Bitcoin or putting your money into ADA. This is, there are strategies, there are paths, and for every person it's different. It's going to be a different journey for every individual person. But like, we want to help bring the knowledge and help to create some of the ideas. And we just want to say, like, take your time. And if there's any one thing I could say right now, and there are all sorts of strategies that we could talk about in terms of using gold, silver, Bitcoin, Cardano, even dollars at particular times in order to increase your personal net wealth. One thing that I would say, if you were going to take one thing away today, would be the dollar cost average strategy. And that, simply put, for those that don't know, means that you choose an asset that you're wanting to accumulate over time. And rather than trying to pick an entry point, say, I'm going to pick when it's going to be really cheap to buy it, and I'm going to pick when it's really expensive to sell it. Instead, you say, I'm going to pick an amount that I can afford to buy every X amount of time. So every week, let's say every week I can afford to buy $10 worth of Bitcoin. Then that's what you do. You buy $10 worth of Bitcoin every week. You don't think about it. You don't care whether the price is high. You don't care whether the price is low. What that does, the strategy itself, and there's variations on this strategy, but what you get by dollar cost averaging a very highly volatile asset like Bitcoin or Cardano is you could buy ADA today and it could be $1.10, and tomorrow it could be $1.30, and the next day it could be 89 cents, and the day after that it could be $1.35, and that's just the way this industry is. It's very, very volatile. So what dollar cost averaging will do is it allows you to take some of the craziness out of the volatility and smooth out the curve to make the risk a little bit less that you're buying the very tippy top. And so anyways, that's just one strategy that I would put out there right now. If you're thinking about, if you don't have gold, if you don't have silver, if you don't have Bitcoin, if you don't have ADA, if you don't have some of these things that we're talking about and you want them, again, not financial advice. The one thing I wouldn't suggest, again, is to go out necessarily and put all of your expensive, all of your hard-earned money into something when it's at the very top, when it might be expensive. And we don't know. You never know whether something's going to go up or down immediately in price. So dollar cost averaging is just a really great strategy for the beginner to come in and slowly buy small amounts of whatever you're wanting to accumulate over time. And believe me, before you know it, you turn around and that little pile is a big pile. And that's the beauty of saving money, right?
So what do you think? What do you think the future is with crypto and Bitcoin?
Um, I'm a believer, man. So I mean, it's there. Crypto is the way that humans will pass value digitally across vast distances, as long as just in the future. That's the technology. That's the way we're going to do it. As long as there is an electrical grid and the internet and electricity. And so um, this is why it's important to think about and know these things and not just to buy into them. There's always risks to think about, right? But for Bitcoin, it would take really taking down the entire internet and the electrical grids all over the world really to take down Bitcoin. Um, and so I have gold and silver as insurance for that, right? And then you once you have the gold and silver that you need, you add Bitcoin to that, and you add ADA to that, and the it's important to understand different assets and their risks associated with them, right? And that's something that I'm sure we'll get more into as time goes along.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic as well. I'm not naive to the ebbs and flows of these things. I feel that just having the opportunity to see another angle helps out a lot. So I'm very optimistic in what minds can do when we come together in unison to really see what are the kinks that need to be ironed out and what we can do as individuals, then converting to communities, so on and so forth. So I'm very hopeful that other people will start seeing opportunities and utilizing the resources that we have and leveraging to their advantage. I've seen so much push and momentum in this area with music specifically, with a lot of our artists, where everyone has had their own independent journey. And I can confidently tell you that I've made more in crypto doing music than I did as an independent artist. And you can say what you want about that, but you're talking to an artist who does everything from the recording to the writing to the mix and mastering to the end product of what you hear on the digital streaming platforms. You have one person doing that versus just being with a team that you have somebody on this side that specializes in this and this person that specializes in that. And you know it gets to be like a headache when you just do everything on your own like that. You learn a lot. You definitely learn a lot.
Mhm.
But you can plant up thousands and thousands of seeds, but it really takes a team, a community to water, nurture, sunlight, all of those things, put it together. So, I think that we can really make a big impact with crypto and fresh perspectives. We've seen it one way for so long, or we've seen it another way for so long that it's not helping. It genuinely isn't helping, and there's a war cry out for that.
Mhm.
But there's ways, just like there's different ways to war cry, and not saying that this is not saying that this is the kryptonite or anything like that. That's not the goal of this at all. This is more of just a hey, in case you forgot.
Mhm.
I like that. In case you forgot.
In case you forgot. And we're about to be in that X space right now too, and we'll be able to get more of the community's feedback. And yeah, we do this as a team, as a group, as a community. So
Yes, indeed, you guys. I almost feel like we need to have a part 2 of the finances. I feel like
we'll definitely come back and talk about it again. If we don't catch it this next week, we will definitely come back around to it very, very soon. I know, because we'll be we'll have to have an episode specifically about Cardano and about what it is we do. So
yeah, very true. There's definitely going to be a lot more to come, you guys. But we definitely appreciate everybody who's tuning in, has tuned in with us from the first episode up to episode 2 here. This is a human, and this is Mr. Dudamus. We have been fighting for finance this evening. We really appreciate you guys coming out. Again, hit that like, subscribe, and please, really looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say, jumping on this X space. So with all that being said, tune in with us next week when we fight for music featuring Corey Drums himself, ladies and gentlemen, a pioneer in the music Cardano crypto. Yeah, give him a round of applause.
Hell
This man
yeah.
has done so much, and we are really looking forward to speaking with him because what's really unique, what's really great, I don't even want to say unique. Unique's just like that's such a filler word. What makes this man phenomenal is not only has he been able to pioneer his way in the crypto world, in the music industry, in the independent artistry, but he's also been able to put his family in positions. So can't wait to talk with him more about that, drop some more gems for you. This has been episode 2. Look forward to episode 3. Have a great night, y'all.
have a great one. Bye.
Bye.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less, you check as I'm chess, what's happening next, yeah. He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson, he got a new engine from pain, that's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. I'll leave an impression and take a redemption. Just kill no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression, You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking for somebody who could save him, instead of searching inside for what they gave him. A strong will, strong mind causes mayhem. We could change the world, change times, rearrange them. Staying on pace, running the race. Life is a chase, I don't want a place, I wanna be first. Work till it hurts, dehydrated thirst till I'm in a hearse. High ambitions and the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds, they can stay soft. You can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life, better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss, just my life and free thoughts. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me.